Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Tri-County Logging. Experienced in sustainable forestry practices, Tri-County Logging can help you manage your property by keeping your woods healthy and generate income. Serving southern and mid-Michigan for nearly 50 years, TriCountyLogging.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson-Silik, and finally, that time of year we've all been waiting for, firearm deer season is here. Hopefully you're enjoying this week's show from Deer Camp. And speaking of deer camp and traditions, on this week's show, we will bring you the Palace in the Popples poem. That's kind of a tradition for us here on the show to get you fired up for deer season. I'll also show you what you can do to help out as sportsmen, sharing your harvest with those fellow Michiganders who aren't so fortunate this year by donating some venison through Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. And Jimmy and Jordan have some other excitement in store for us this week too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have a few more things on this week's show. Jordan Brown is going to take us out fishing with a high school class who's actually exposing kids to the out of doors, specifically the art of fly fishing. And then I'm going to take you on a bow hunt. And this is a bow hunt really like I've never been on before. There's a big buck involved and one heck of a story. You're going to want to make sure you stay tuned for that. Lots of good stuff on this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors.
What a beautiful day in the woods.
Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream. It's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, a sportsman's meat processor and Michigan destination since 1988. Offers a variety of homemade smoked meats and Michigan-made products in-store and online. The Country Smokehouse features an outdoor barbecue and bar. Details at countrysmokehouse.com. By Jay's Sporting Goods, with locations in Clare and Gaylord. Jay's has been serving the Michigan outdoor enthusiast since 1971, with a wide variety of outdoor products. The gear, the knowledge, the tradition of Jay's. On the web at jaysportinggoods.com. By Grilla Grills of Holland, Michigan, makers of wood pellet, charcoal grills, and professional pellet smokers. Grilla Grills are designed for ease of use to improve your grilling and smoking skills. More information at grillagrills.com.
Soaking in the rich tradition of Michigan hunting for over 30 years, Vanguard is proud to sponsor our friends at Michigan Out of Doors TV.
Well, everybody, I am here in Kalamazoo County, actually, this morning. Heading down here to do some deer hunting tonight and then all day tomorrow. So I'm kind of excited about it. I've been chasing birds all of October and finally starting to think about deer. And opening day is next week. But yeah, I'm going to do some deer hunting with a good buddy down here, Jim Bard, who is actually a charter boat captain who we've had on the show several times over the years. But he's like, hey, you want to come down? We got a lot of bucks. We got a lot of deer. And I thought, boy, you know what? Let's give it a go. I have to say I was pretty excited to hit the woods tonight. It was cold and clear, and the bucks have been running does pretty good in many parts of the state. Down here in big buck country, you just never know what might step out. Gonna hunt tonight. I think we're gonna sit all day tomorrow. Deer are really moving, lots of activity, scrapes all over this property down here in Kalamazoo County. So I'm gonna try to hold out for something that kind of gets my heart going. I don't know how big that's going to be. Probably, I don't know, maybe something with 4 on a side, but we'll see. Beautiful night, still. Should be a good sit. We'll see what happens. Well, it was a pretty exciting little half hour or so there. The deer started coming out in the field pretty good, and a couple little bucks running some does. And that little 4-point I had at about 25 yards. Supposedly quite a few 8-points running around, so we're kind of seeing if we can see one of those. But a couple hours left, I think, here of daylight. See what happens. Snow's starting to fall a little harder. Jim is hunting about a couple hundred yards to my south, and he's just said he's seen a couple nice bucks already this morning. So I passed that little 3-point that came in looking for some like a racked buck today, and I'm more than happy to shoot a doe, but Jim really doesn't want to take any does out of here right now because there's a lot of hot does in here and he doesn't want to accidentally take one of those out. So I'd be happy to fill my freezer with a doe, but we're going to hold out for something a little bigger. And yeah, so, but it is just a gorgeous morning, just perfect. Perfect was a great way to describe what was happening at about 9:30 that morning. Had one of the biggest bucks I have seen in a long time while actually hunting, working his way in. A few grunts got him headed my way, and now I just needed to see if I could get a shot. Right here is where I clicked the safety off and shouldered the crossbow. I had him just inside of 40 yards, but that one lone tree was right where I wanted to put the shot. So I waited in hopes that he would turn and give me a good, clean shot. This is why you should bring a cameraman with you instead of trying to tape yourself. Apparently, in the heat of the moment, trying to get the camera around and range the deer and make the shot, I was about a ½ inch too low and hit the blind. And when it came out of the blind, it lost a fletching and then caromed up and hit this tree behind me. Nice solid hit though. I just don't get too many cracks at a nice buck like that, but it's still early in the day and see if we can get lucky, I guess. Well, as you can see, I was a little disheartened about that shot and about everything that happened. And that blind that I was tucked into is really a neat little spot. And I won't forget that ground blind anytime soon and staring at that hole that I made. Now, I looked at the footage and you can tell when this deer spins that you can actually see a little bit of red and a little bit of blood behind its right front shoulder. And you can see right here where it looks like that's where I hit the deer. So when I was sitting in the blind and replaying that footage, I thought I made a pretty good shot, even though I could never see the bolt actually on camera. So I sat there waiting for Jim to come over, and about a half hour later he comes over and I said, well, I kind of shot right down this lane here. And he goes, well, Jimmy, there's your arrow right there. And I said, what are you talking about? And so that's when I realized that I had actually hit the blind and went up and my arrow lodged into that tree, but I could not fathom why there was blood down at the spot where the deer was. And so we're scratching our heads and Jim says, you know what? About 3 or 4 days ago, my neighbor said that he hit one. He was in a tree stand and made not a very good shot and just grazed the deer far forward. He said he didn't really know exactly where he hit it, but we were assuming that this deer was hit 3 or 4 days before, was healing up, and looked to be fine, walking around and running off. But apparently there was still a little bit of blood that was coming out of that wound from 3 or 4 days ago. So hard to believe that I'll never have that happen again, where I shoot at a deer, miss the deer, hit a tree, and there's still blood where the deer was standing. So it was a crazy just stream of events that happened there, and I was upset, obviously, that I didn't get the deer. I'm glad I didn't make a bad shot, and I'm glad I didn't just miss the deer completely. You know, had I gotten above, if I had the bow a little half-inch higher, I probably would have felt worse. But nicking that blind, I've had that happen turkey hunting before, but never deer hunting. So deer hunting is a crazy sport. It has some highs, it has some lows, but that's why we keep coming back. Now, in our next story, we're going to completely shift gears and then backtrack about 3 or 4 weeks, where Jordan Brown was actually able to get out with a high school who was exposing kids to fishing, and specifically the art of fly fishing.
You stop with lines up.
All right, we're at Brookhaven Lake. Goal here today is to inform kids on the techniques of fly fishing. We've talked about my Michigan history class from Lakeview High School and how the students kind of really figured out and found out about the logging industry and what that did to our rivers, and especially the grayling, native fish to Michigan until about the turn of the 20th century. So I found this place, talking to Jeff, looking up online as much information as I could get on the grayling. We found this place. There's an MLive article, I believe, on Brookhaven Lake, and Jeff's been wonderful, very accommodating with us, take school groups, take Boy Scout groups up here. We've come up here, I think, 4 or 5 years now, but just really to get kids in touch with fly fishing, get them to know a little bit of history about the Michigan grayling and trout fishing here in Michigan.
This unique body of water is a perfect location for anglers of all ages to learn how to fly fish, allowing for easy casting and accessibility. Although there's plenty of fish in this small lake, it's still fishing, and today we were just hoping that at least a few fish would end up in the net.
So basically, we've owned this property for about 9 years. It's called Brookhaven Lake. It's a small kettle lake. It's actually like a giant spring, like Kitchen-a-Gippy. It's got about 250,000 gallons of water a day flowing out of it. There's 20 springs that flow into it. It's about 23 foot deep. The average depth is probably 18 feet. It's just under 2 acres. A lot of fish in here. We have brook trout, Lake Nipigon brook trout in here. We get brookies up to 6 pounds. Our average brookie is about 15 inches. We have 3 species of rainbows, cantaloupe from Alaska. We have leopard rainbows from New Zealand. We have some brown trout in here. We had grayling a couple years back. We actually were the first ones to introduce grayling in Michigan in a lot of years, but we have not been able to get the eggs for the grayling, and they live about 4 years. So right now there's probably no grayling in here, but that was kind of an interesting, that was our attempt to reestablish a native population of grayling in Michigan. It's a great place for families. We do a lot of beginner fishermen. We do stuff with the Boy Scouts. That's about it. Okay. That leaf out of the picture.
Nice job.
Thank you.
He's probably 15 inches.
So the morning's been pretty slow. We've had a lot of bites. It's just, you know, the fishermen can't catch them all. It's my first time fly fishing, so kind of getting used to it. Had my rod in the water, and he hooked on, and I jerked the line set at him, and the rest was reeling them in. It's pretty fun.
That's your first trout ever, or first rainbow ever?
Yeah, that was my first rainbow trout ever. Yep, first one I ever catching on a fly rod, so pretty excited.
All right. Yeah. Take the egg pattern. Swing him over. Yep. Oh, he's a tail walker. Look at all the spots on him. Isn't it pretty? So that's about 12 inches. There he goes.
Fly fishing is a unique art form, obviously. It's a unique style of fishing. The kids don't usually fish too much with a fly rod. A lot of them are familiar with spin bait and spin casting. So to get them out here and doing this kind of exposes them to something that hopefully, or a hobby that hopefully keeps them going for, you know, they can do this until they're well after retirement, which is great. So just to expose kids not only to the fishing style, of fly fishing, but to get them outdoors in nature. Obviously, we got a beautiful day today, which works really well. So it's all about the exposure, trying to open kids up to a new hobby. You know, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day in the classroom, obviously. And if you're a teacher and you can open kids up to these types of experiences, it makes their school experience that much more fulfilling, and hopefully they remember it and carry it with them for a long time after school.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Good job, Caitlin. Very nice. I mean, we just have such a beautiful state with so many unique opportunities to get kids outdoors. We do a lot of things at Lakeview High School through, you know, ski clubs and things like that get kids outdoors. This is another one that we can work into Michigan history, and you know, we've got the perfect environment, perfect place to do that. You know, we just have such a beautiful state with so many unique opportunities outdoors that you got to expose kids to it. Some of these kids, like you said, they'll never experience this if they don't do it here. And if we can get them interested in a new hobby and get them to have some fun outside of the classroom, this is what it's all about right now as a teacher.
It's great to see high school students having the opportunity to spend a day on the water and learn about our state's history, all while technically still being in class. And hopefully today we gained a few new anglers. Special thanks to everyone involved in making this event possible.
Olivia, smile at the camera.
That's it. It's good luck. Kiss it.
You gonna kiss him? Oh, look at that! She did.
If you've been hunting here in Michigan for any length of time, you're most likely familiar with an organization called Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. In case you're not familiar with it, we're going to take a look at what they do and how we can all help as sportsmen and women here in Michigan. Hundreds of thousands of us here in Michigan will be headed to the woods this weekend in hopes of filling a deer tag. There are traditions that run deep at deer camp, and most all involve friends, family, and good food. There are some less fortunate families in our great state who could use a little help with more food this fall, and there's a way for all of us to help. Last week, we visited a Michigan food pantry to see exactly where our donated venison ends up through Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger.
CARES is a place that has services for people who are in need. We have a food pantry, we have a clothing pantry, we have a lunch program, we have other agencies that also are on our property as well, so that people don't have to go far for other services they may need, such as WIC services, veterans services, all that's in one place, so they can just come here.
CARES is just one of many places that receives donated venison from Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. We caught up with its treasurer to hear exactly what they do.
What we do is feed people. Basically, last year there were 52,000 pounds of ground venison distributed throughout the state. We have around 20 processors, even a couple in the UP, and wherever the deer are processed, it goes to that local community, you know, close by. And so it's a statewide thing where people all over the state get food, get this ground venison.
Even if you don't have venison to donate but would still like to help those fellow Michiganders in need, Steve says there are other options.
There's a number of ways that you can help Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. If you go to our website, you can donate there. But most of our donations come when you buy your license. In other words, the state has incorporated in that process of buying the license a spot where they ask you if you'd like to contribute $1 to Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger. And so many of the wonderful sportsmen do that. And it helps to fund the processing of these deer. In other words, they're not done for free. It's a lot of labor and work, and especially when we do a big cull like we did 119 deer in Ann Arbor. That's a lot of work for a processor. So they do get compensated, and that's what those funds go to. By law, it doesn't go to the DNR. By law, it goes into a special fund that has to be used for this purpose.
In the last few years, this CARES pantry alone has received around 3,000 pounds of ground venison from local hunters. All of the venison donated through Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger is made into ground burger, which is the most versatile for recipes, and goes to food pantries and soup kitchens near the community where it was donated.
Actually, when you go to the processor, if it's one of ours, and you can see a whole list of our processors online, it'll tell you where the processors are. If you want to give part of your deer, for example, let's say I want to give 5 pounds of ground meat, and I'll take the rest for myself, you can do that as well. If you give the whole deer, there is no charge to the guy dropping it off, as far as the processing, we'll take care of that.
It's truly an easy way to help feed the hungry and to provide lean, healthy protein that's hard to come by on a daily basis for a lot of families. Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger has been around for 28 years now.
Well, we've been doing this since 1991, so this is not a new endeavor. It's continued to grow and grow as people, as the DNR, we have problems with deer, and they're culling places where they're worried about chronic wasting disease, et cetera. By the way, those are all tested deer. That when they do that, they're all tested. Also, all the processors are state licensed. They're not just some guy in a garage. They're a regular business that's licensed. But the reason we do that is because once you are around this environment of trying to help people, you just want to help people. In other words, it feeds people. There's a lot of, the economy seems to be doing well, et cetera, but there's still a lot of people that are challenged in terms of nutrition. And venison's pretty good stuff.
Dolores says it's really great to see how one of our state's largest renewable natural resources is helping out in such a big way with the folks she serves.
The venison has been a godsend, is all that I can say. It's amazing. At first, the people didn't really know what it was or what to do with it. They weren't sure if they wanted to eat it. But thanks to Steve and our daily lunch program, we're able to let them taste it. We can make some chili, we can make some shepherd's pie, we can make some spaghetti, and they get to taste it and they realize that it doesn't taste that much different than hamburger, especially when you're putting other spices with it. So now we're to the point where this is a time of year that they know it's coming and they're starting to ask, where's the venison? All of our food is based on family size, and there's limits. Whenever we get something special like the venison, it's a bonus item. It doesn't go against your allowed meat, so everybody can have 3 or 4 packs of venison, and that's 3 or 4 more meals that they can make for their family that they wouldn't have been able to make if we hadn't have received the donation of venison. So it's game changing for hunger because a lot of people are getting fed with this meat.
It's so great to see how our community of sportsmen and women are doing their part to help combat hunger. As an added bonus, for those hunting in the Clare area this weekend, our friends at Jay's Sporting Goods are offering a prize drawing for anyone who donates their deer there on Saturday or Sunday. So as we fill our tags this season, let's keep in mind those less fortunate who could use our help here in Michigan's Out of Doors. Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Good luck to everybody who's hitting the woods this weekend for firearm deer season. We'll all be out with cameras rolling as always. I'll be headed to the northeast part of the Mitten to spend some time in deer camp with a woman who's celebrating her 70th year deer hunting here in Michigan. You won't want to miss that story. And Jimmy and Jordan will be in a couple of different parts of the state this weekend too.
Well, Jenny, we are pretty excited for opening day here in the great state of Michigan. I'm going to be in the Petoskey area, and if you're going to be up there, there's a really cool kind of a buck tailgate event that's happening at the fairgrounds there in Petoskey on Saturday night. If you want to come check that out, we'll be there with camera rolling and get some good stories of hopefully some big bucks that are taken up there. Make sure you are getting out and enjoying what there is to be had here in this great state of Michigan, especially this week with opening day. And speaking of that opening day tradition, here's one of our traditions to bring you this poem to get you excited for the upcoming deer season, Palace in the Popples. It's a smoky, raunchy boar's nest with an unswept, drafty floor, with pillow-ticking curtains and knife scars in the door. The smell of a pine knot fire from a stovepipe that's come loose mingles sweetly with the boot grease and the Copenhagen snooze. There are work-worn 30-30s with scratched and battered stocks and drying lines of long johns and steaming, pungent socks. There's a table for the bloody four and their game of two-card draw. There's deep and dreamless sleeping on bunk ticks stuffed with straw. Frank's been drafted for cook again and is peeling some spuds for stew, while Bruce wanders by in baggy drawers reciting Dangerous Dan McGrew. Nowhere on earth is fire so warm or coffee so infernal, nor whiskers so stiff, jokes so rich, or where hope blooms so eternal. A guy could live for a solid week in the same old underbritches and walk like a man and spit where he wants and scratch himself where it itches. I tell you boys, there is no place else I'd rather be come fall, where I eat like a bear and sing like a wolf and feel like I'm bull pine tall. In that raunchy cabin up in the north, in the land of the deer and the loon, with the tracking snow lying new to the ground at the end of the rutting moon.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and Northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By EOTech, a Michigan company, equipping law enforcement and sportsmen alike with quality optics, creating jobs for Michigan workers. On the web at eotechgear.com. By Final Rest. Final Rest is a Michigan company that offers portable stability you can take with you into the field. Information on all their options can be found at finalrestshootingsystems.com. By Showspan, producing consumer shows including the Ultimate Fishing Show Detroit, January 9th through 12th at Novi Suburban Collection Showplace. The show features fishing tackle, trips, boats, and seminars from top pros. The Ultimate Fishing Show, Novi, January 9th through 12th. Closed captioning provided by Randy's Hunting Center, serving Michigan as Ruger and Leupold's National Dealer of the Year and inventor of Ruger's 450 Bushmaster rifle.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, East to Monroe, to St. Marie and back again. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land.